Welcome to my first proper video. Today I'm going to be attempting to teach how to paint the Hexgrammaton Star seen in the Dark Angel's Heraldry during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy. This model here is an example of it here. This red star in the background, the six-pointed star, seen behind this, albeit not well-applied transfer, is what I'm going to be trying to teach today. It represents the 6 different wings that were originally seen in the Dark Angels after the Lion and the Calibanite Dark Angels joined the Terran members of the Dark Angels during the early to mid-Great Crusade. The 6 wings are the Storm Wing, which were your line troops. In-game give bonus to bolt guns. Death Wing, your duelists and your bodyguards, which that gives bonuses to your swords, hitting with your swords. The Iron Wing, which gives bonuses to your vehicles, we're centered around armored conflicts using tanks and Terminators. The Fire Wing, which were your assassins, they give bonuses to shooting and hitting heroes in game. The Dread Wing, which was one of the cooler and more interesting wings of the Dark Angels. They were centered around war crimes, they were centered around chemical weapons and chemical warfare, and all the forbidden technology the Dark Angels were given by the Emperor. The last one is the Raven Wing, which was centered around high-speed conflict, such as jet bikes, jump packs. They were the hunters. They chased after people. Yeah, so the 6 points, it's pretty easy to get this symbol in my opinion. Obviously, freehand is not easy at all, and I don't pretend to be a master of it. So the first thing you're going to want to do, well, without further ado, we'll get started here. The first thing you're going to want, probably the first thing you want to do is shake your paint. That is probably the best idea. Once you got your paint shaken, add a bit of water, but with freehand, you don't actually want it to be super thin. You just want it to be thin enough to not leave a ton of texture, but thick enough to not run or be translucent. So you can always go back and tidy up later. So the first thing you want to do when doing the star is mark out 3 central points, roughly in the center of the piece. This will be the center point of the entire thing. This will make this, infinitely easier having those marked out. Next up, you're going to want to do two dots on either side to mark out where the corners are going to be for the other points on the star. I would like to bring up, this is not to be confused with the Chaos Star, but you do you. You paint what you want to paint on your Dark Angels or any army or legion you want. Don't be too worried about the star being kind of lopsided, because it, honestly, in artwork and on the official transfers, it can be a little wonky. So, there, we've got our points marked out. We've got our middle and 6 outer points. It looks a little abstract right now, and I know it doesn't show up clearest on the camera. But, I mean, mind you, I'm recording with my phone. Get some more paint. Put it on your palette. And now comes honestly the most difficult part. So the first, you're going to want to connect the points like this. Just go on carefully. Don't be too worried about it being straight right away. Because you can always go back and tidy up later. That is one of the greatest things about when you're freehanding, especially small patterns like this, is tidy up. Doesn't have to be done right away. And once again, don't be too worried if it's lopsided. You can see it's not perfect. If it'll focus. It's not perfect right now. And it does not need to be. So now that you've got that basic shape, you now want to connect these corners up to the top point. See, mistakes are going to happen. Those mistakes will be cleaned up later, and I'll show you how. But first, let's get the entire star, or at least half the star painted before we even start thinking about corrections. More paint. Mind you, I have only ever done this pattern once before, and I decided I wanted to share my attempt at doing something cool. I am sure there are probably better tutorials you can follow if you're struggling with mine. But yeah, you see that central pattern. Once again, we'll clean it up later. We got that central pattern. Now you want to do the inverse of that to connect to the other points. You just want to flip the whole thing upside down. And that's what makes this symbol, while it looks complicated, so simple to paint. Now you just kind of carefully run that up like that, so you've got most of the star. Now you connect the middle to it. Need a little more paint on my brush. Don't be afraid to just stop mid-line. You can always carefully start from the back to the beginning. Don't try to restart this. Don't be afraid to restart the entire line. Because that is perfectly fine. Okay, now we get on to the tidying and refinement step. So you've got the rough symbol here. It looks a little garbage right now, gonna be honest. But that's okay. Because the tidy up step is really important. Let's start with thickening up the lines just a smidgen and sharpening the points on the star, because that will help it look extra, more defined and easier to see. If you're never 100% happy with it, you can also throw a transfer on top, and that'll hide most of the ugly if you're really that worried. But I think most people will do just fine. This is once again a fairly simple pattern, and it does not make me want to kill myself as much as painting checkers does. Which I will probably do a video on in the future, eventually, on how to do checkers, because they suck. And all the videos, while they're good, I want to do one myself. So I want to share my techniques. Alright, so now that we've kind of thickened and refined the lines, now we're going to go back with our original base paint. Alright, sorry about the technical difficulties. I dropped my phone. More so knocked it off my desk with my elbow, because it's kind of difficult to have a camera in front of you while you're painting. Don't know if this will be a second part or if I'll figure out how to edit it in. Okay, picking up where we left off. Time to tidy up with the original base paint. So I originally painted this back banner with Corvus black, and then I used Mephiston red to paint the star. You could easily use white or any other color on any other part of this, and just sub out the colors however you want, obviously. The colors don't really matter on the actual design. But cleaning up is, honestly, for the visual design part, the most important. Just going to get some black paint on my brush here. This you're going to want to thin down a little more, because you're not going to be too worried about it bleeding. You want it to be relatively smooth to cover up those earlier mistakes. Mistakes are something you should not be afraid to make to make. Because they honestly help you learn. I learned by trial and error, especially, so they've helped me. Learning from my mistakes has been a difficult path, but honestly, it's been pretty useful. Sorry if I go silent or start stuttering when I'm doing this, because focusing takes a lot of energy, and I am special. We're going to just decrease the point here. We're also going to add the black back in the middle of this. Or my brush is not going to cooperate. Give me a second. Gotta get a little more black paint on there. So what we're doing right now is we're just correcting all of my earlier mistakes. And even if not all, we're going to try to correct most of the mistakes. Just carefully going around the edges of the lines, straighten them out, cleaning them up. Just overall making this whole piece look just a smidgen better. And that is the trick to freehand, really. Just being careful, going back over it. I'm obviously not the best at freehand. There are a lot of people better than me. Like one fella that I've had the pleasure of playing against with his white scars is just incredible. Hands down, one of my favorite armies I've ever seen on the tabletop. Oh, damn. Well, it's still wet. You don't need to worry too bad. When you smudge it, you can always kind of go back and just wipe it off and then correct. As long as it's still, like, fresh. I wouldn't try that on dry paint because I don't think you're going to see amazing results, but... yeah. That is really the trick to all of this mind-numbing, aggravating work. There we go. The star's looking pretty good now. We're going to go back over with the red now, though. And we're going to go back tidy again, because freehand is all about going back over your work and correcting it, going back over and correcting again until you're happy with it. Because it's never, unlike a transfer or following a pattern on the thing, it's never going to be absolutely perfect. There are going to be things you're probably not going to be happy with about it. And that's okay. Because I'm going to be honest, as someone who has had troubles with their own self-esteem on their minis, you're going to be okay. Because other people aren't going to see those mistakes nearly as easily unless you point them out to them. That's been my experience. Okay. And just with a little bit of correcting, that's looking pretty good, I think. Actually, maybe add a little more correcting to the bottom of the star. Would help if I had paint on my brush. It dried up immediately. Lovely. Yeah. And that's about the gist. Like, there's always more stuff you can add. Like, I'll probably throw a transfer on this, and one day when this banner finds a squad, it will have, like, the transfer and for the Dark Angel symbol, like the winged sword. And it'll probably have, like, the marking of the First Legion, which you can see here, the one. That means a veteran of Terra, and I've just been using these as a Deathwing, even though the Deathwing is supposed to have the circle. This guy attends to my Inner Circle Cenobium. This is actually one of my most recent pieces, and I'm very happy with him, especially his face and his banner. Sorry, getting off topic. Back to the banner. Yeah. Overall, fairly simple symbol to do, I think. Fairly happy with it. You spend more time, the more time you spend on it, the better it'll look. This is just a really quick go-over. Yeah, that's about all I got. So, I'd like to thank you for tuning into this and spending your time to watch me screw around and try to show off stuff that I'm passionate about. Maybe I'll do something more in future. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I don't know what I'm going to do with this channel. I know I want to do painting tutorials. I know I want to do, like, hobbying stuff. Maybe when I get a better setup, I'll live stream even. But that's way off in the future. I don't have the money for that stuff right now. I don't even have the money for new minis. That's why I pulled this out of my bits box and decided, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Anyways, yeah. Thanks for spending your time watching my little video on how to do this, and I hope it was helpful. To at least the bare minimum. Yeah, I'll upload sometime. Maybe. Or maybe I'll delete this all in a week. We shall see. Anyways, thank you for watching. Bye.